We are a sick people. That's what we are.
647 cases in 1 month in Port Moresby.
No to compensation. No to one-talk system.
Let's man up. Enough is enough. Enough is enough. This vicious cycle must end.
The frightening magnitude of the epidemic serving as a wake-up call for PNG, where 2 out of 3 women have experienced violence. In Port Moresby alone, roughly 340,000 women and children are abuse survivors. Women are 5 times more likely to be abused at home than on the streets. And there's a massive cost to business too. A whopping 1.4 million days of work, study, family care are lost due to gender-based violence. But long before the city exploded, the National Capital District had begun work quietly behind the scenes. NCD has formulated a gender-based violence strategy in 2016, one of the first amongst all other provinces of PNG.
NCDC has been working on GBV for a while. We have, for example, a provincial plan to respond to especially family sexual violence. And we set up the secretariat and has been working with all the service providers, health workers, all the safe houses, the police family sexual violence unit. It's been a response to supporting survivors and victims of especially domestic violence.
The strategy was based on 3 pillars. 1, for NCDC to walk the talk and become the gold standard in gender equality, non-violence, and anti-harassment. 2, to deliver accountability by ensuring that NCDC's programs and contractors become leaders in the campaign against GBV. 3rd, to disrupt and demand change at both the provincial and national level. But for a realistic overhaul, true introspection was necessary. The cleanup began at home, with the National Capital District Commission launching an internal survey. The aim? To assess, understand, and change the attitudes and behaviors of the municipal staff and stakeholders. The results were sobering. 55% of the staff didn't believe that men have the right to beat up women, and 92% said ending violence was important. But some of the results indicated the need for urgent intervention. 30% had missed work in the last 12 months due to violence. 1,300 days of work lost due to violence. That's 5 work years. The survey and focus group results drew the spotlight on the way forward.
What we have done, we see a lot of lack of basic services, which in terms of such as water, no lights in the settlements, women walk in the nights and it's risky when they go. They're also asking for fast tracking of settlement to suburb upgrading so that other services in terms of water and electricity can go in so women can be more safer.
Let's take the first step. And the commission has to be the standard bearer because we are representation of our people. So if there's any place in this country that we're going to really see meaningful change in terms of reducing gender-based violence, it has to be the municipal government of our capital city.
This case, a pivotal one, triggering a tsunami of reaction against gender-based violence. The outrage, the sorrow, and the anger spilling onto the streets, which turned black in symbolic solidarity. As the citizens of Port Moresby mobilized action against gender-based violence, a defiance was visible, a refusal to let adrenaline reduce into just another statistic.
Yumi Basanap, United Papua New Guinea. Nagat wamla heavy lo island si come down lo numbers by Brooklyn Yumi. Nagat. Yumi Basanap na call for action. Enough is enough!
At this heartbreaking tribute held by PNG Men Up at Sejongai Stadium, a resolute civil society and leaders took a pledge.
We pledge to man up and not be silent.
And put the onus on men to change.
Let's acknowledge the fact that we men are the biggest problem in this issue, because facts and statistics show that men are the leading perpetrators of violence against women. The people who can make the strongest call to end violence against our women are men. And there are 111 of them that have the power to change the course of this country by changing laws that continue to accord lower penalties for serious crimes against men and women.
We want the offenders, Gawi posted, to serve life in prison. This will send a strong message to other abusers of women.
The entire village of Papua New Guinea is offended by this crime. The village is hurting and the village must find closure, that the prosecution will seek the maximum penalty.
How many more of us? How many more of your sisters and nieces and daughters and granddaughters and aunties and mothers must die before we really say enough is enough?
Enough is enough. The message reverberating even in the highest corridors of power.
No to compensation. No to one-talk system. No to taking cover under the shade of customary and traditional obligations. Now, those who know about crimes and you don't owe up to be witnesses, you are equally culpable of the offense.
Our Constitution is very clear. The first principle, it says that we must all free ourselves from all forms of oppression and suppression. Among the various rights and freedom in our Constitution, there are some fundamental. Right to life, right to protection of the law. We have in our Constitution to Section 55 calls for equality of all citizens. Are all our citizens equal? We have to ask ourselves, has this right become real for all our people? But importantly, women and girls of our country, let's make gender-based violence mainstream in government, in all agencies of the state, in all corporates, NGOs, and in the churches. Let's man up. It's really about the entire country, our potential. What we are failing to realize is that women and girls and men and boys working together, we will achieve a greater country than we have now. We will.
The phone-lit night representing the glimmer of a better future for our women. July saw various Port Moresby-based movements like End the Silence gathering momentum with petitions submitted, pledges taken, and men coming out in support.
We're gonna say it together! Enough is! This is the time that we break the silence!
The campaign became the voice of the youth, the face of our future generation in the battle against gender-based violence. The protesters marching from City Hall to the Parliament made their intentions clear. The time to change had come.
No matter what, that criticism that you put on before us, we accept the blame. Even though we have not turned away the victims. With your assistance, with your support, we will all fight together to eliminate the gender-based violence.
We had never won an Olympic gold medal, but we topped the charts of domestic and sexual violence in the entire world.
It aches because we have lost a sister, we have lost a daughter, we have lost a mother to gender-based violence.
But mere plans of platitudes weren't enough. Action was required, and required right now.
And I want to say it again. Being a woman and girl in our country is a risk.
So a task force was created, modeled after a successful partnership during the NCD's COVID-19 experience. A coming together of representatives from National Capital District Commission and their program managers, interest groups like PNG Man Up, NGOs such as Equal Playing Field, Bel Isi, agencies like Family and Sexual Violence Unit, the Metropolitan Police and PNG Correctional Services, youth representatives, and the business community. The task force had a challenging road to tread. Resource gaps, behavioral change, law reforms, intervention required at multiple levels.
Many people do not know the process in accessing, the services, how to, access the police or to go to the courts and stuff like that. Part of our program is to provide case management.
But we have to also focus on referral pathway, real-time case management that's needed for the city.
But if it's going to be done, invest in policing to be more effective than it is currently today.
The idea of using my brothers and sisters or athletes, the high-profile ones, just to keep the pressure on, the situation. It's not something that we just put in the back burner and move on.
We work with 500 boys and girls typically in a term. And if we know what those criteria are, then we know that we are aligning with some of the criteria of that gold standard that we want to meet.
No, it's not just law. You're just going to go and tweak the law and that's it. Who's going to implement it? We are in a crisis. We need to continue this campaign and work so that we fill in the gap where we have failed. And that is when we have reduced or eliminated GBV in our country. NCDC is here to work with you all, and let's make this work a success. Huh?
From this multi-stakeholder-driven meeting emerged a smaller technical team. Experts from different fields got together to conceptualize the gender-based strategy for NCD, a blueprint for other provinces to follow. 3 focus areas were chosen: prevention, intervention, and rehabilitation. From these focus areas came 8 work streams. The first one, NCD Gender-Based Violence Impact Strategy, articulates prevention and intervention plans by working closely with the frontliners. The second one, GBV Engagement Strategy, will be focused on continuing the momentum of all the campaigns and protests that the city recently saw. Public memory may be short, so this strategy ensures that GBV isn't pushed to the back burner. The third one is recommendations for the governor to take to the parliament in August. The technical team is working around the clock to put together strong suggestions for overhauling the system. The fourth and fifth is centered around gender-based violence case management workflow, identifying gaps in areas of research, funding, service delivery. A memorandum of agreement will be signed by all stakeholders to commit to the system won't break down. The sixth work stream looks at strengthening relationships and planning continuity once the technical team is disbanded. A division within NCDC will be dedicated to run the strategy. The seventh work stream gives recommendations for monitoring and evaluation, setting key performance indicators. The mechanism will draw attention to weaknesses in the program by putting together a risk management system with triggers. The eighth and the last strategy culminates into a governor's conference on gender-based violence in November. NCDC's plan can be replicated across provinces, so there is a uniform approach. At a weekly task force meetings, these plans being sharpened for execution.